Welcome to CMAC's video training session, where we will recap the basic functions of our JVC cameras that were covered in the Field 1 course. Although CMAC has two different models of the JVC available, we will be concentrating on the 150 model and then addressing the differences in button placement with regards to the 100 model as they apply. Now let's go ahead and place the battery onto the camera. Remember, the battery slides left and clicks into place. To remove it, simply press the release button, slide right, the battery comes right out. Now let's insert the SD card by dropping down the latch over the slots and choosing which slot we want to use. It doesn't matter which slot you do use, just remember which one you put the card in. Next to the hand strap, where you can hold the camera, is a silver dial. Press the blue release button and flip the dial up to the standby on position. On the left side of the camera is the LCD screen viewfinder. Let's open that up and look at our settings. This is the first thing you want to do after turning the camera on. It is important that you are in the correct settings for recording. Remember, other CMAC members are checking out and using the same equipment. They may be changing their settings to suit their needs and may not always change them back to any sort of standard setting. As you can see, there is a lot of information given on the screen. In the upper left corner, you will see the resolution displayed. If you have the 100 model, the resolution will be displayed more towards the top center of the screen. The numbers should read either 1920 by 1080 or 1280 by 720. If the numbers do not reflect the settings you would prefer, you can change this simply by going into the menu. On the LCD screen, press the button labeled Menu Thumb. Select the first option, Record Set, by pressing this middle button right here. Then select Record Format, which is right there at the top. And here is where you can switch the settings around to your preference. To get out of this dialog screen, just press the menu/thumb button. And you're back to where you started. If you have the 100 model, the steps are essentially the same, except your menu button is located in a different place. On the body of the camera, next to the LCD screen, is your menu button. Press that, and there's your dialog box. Use the same middle button, scroll down to System Select. In this dialog box, you have all of your presets available to you. However, when you choose a new setting, your camera will need to reboot, and this will happen every time. Now you should decide whether you want to shoot in manual or full auto mode. The button for those settings are on the outer body of the camera. By selecting the button labeled Full Auto, you can bring the camera into Full Auto settings or set it into manual settings. To know which mode the camera has been set to, just take a look at the LCD screen. The indicator for this function will be an M for manual or an A for auto. This is found in all white on the center of the screen when you press the button. This is manual, press it again, auto. This is also indicated in the top center of the screen in a white box. The full auto button will toggle between the manual and auto settings. Press until you see the desired mode. For the 100 model, the indicator will be a yellow M for manual or a green A for auto. Indicator M or A is in the top left corner as well. Keeping our camera in manual mode, we will want to make sure our focus is in manual mode. Located next to the full auto button is another button labeled AF/MF, which will toggle between an autofocus mode or a manual focus mode. This button only needs to be pressed once. What this function will do is allow you to control the focus of the camera using the ring located near the lens. You will see a small AF or MF on the bottom right of the screen. For those of you with the 100 model, it will be on the top left of the screen. Next, we will discuss the shutter speed. One important thing to remember about shutter speed is it should be twice your frames per second. For example, if my camera was set to 30 frames per second, my shutter speed would be set to 1/60. The shutter speed is operated by using the shutter button located on the back of the camera. After selecting the shutter button, you can change the value using the toggle that is 2 buttons down. On the 100 model, the buttons are the same. However, the readout display will be on a different part of the screen. On the 150 model, it will be located on the bottom right of the screen in white text. On the 100 model, we will find the readout on the top left of the screen in white text. Next, we will review the iris function on the camera. The function of the iris is how much light is coming through the lenses. This will give a numeric readout known as an f-stop. The f-stop is inversely related, meaning the lower the number, the more open your iris is, letting in more light. The higher the number, the darker the image will appear. On the 150 model, you will see that the iris function is a wheel on the front left of the camera body. Make sure you have hit the button labeled Iris A/M, which stands for auto or manual. This will give you a readout on the LCD screen and ensure that the wheel is functioning. Move the wheel up or down to change the iris setting. For the 100 model, the iris button is located just above the shutter button and functions much in the same way as adjusting shutter speeds. Simply press the iris button and toggle the switch below to adjust your f-stop. The readout of the f-stop on the 150 model will appear in small white letters at the bottom center of the screen, whereas the readout for the f-stop on the 100 model is on the top left hand of the screen. Now that your core camera settings have been adjusted, it's time to white balance. Each one of the camera bags comes with a white card that you can use for this function. The white balance button is located on the front of the camera next to the focus ring. The AWB button, or the auto white balance button, can only be used when a few settings on the camera are in proper place. On both models of the camera, the AWB button is located right here on the front. Your camera has an A and B setting for white balance. There is also a setting for a preset white balance. If you are selected under preset, you will not be able to white balance your camera. The switch needs to be set to either A or B before you press AWB to white balance. Also, we'll be going over the gain function on the camera, since this will be something you'll need to check before you set the white balance. Gain has 3 settings: low, medium, high, and should be set to low when you white balance. Gain will increase the brightness of your image, but be careful because it will also add noise. Make sure you fill the frame completely with the white card in a well-lit area. When you press the AWB button, notice how the camera will say auto white, A or B, OK. When you remove the card, the camera should be properly color corrected. So now you are ready to get started using your camera. There are a few other buttons and settings that you may utilize to properly compose your shot. Switches like the ND filter, focus, and zoom are available to you. Let's first talk about the ND filter, which is used to help you control lighting in certain scenarios. The neutral density filter switch is located towards the front of the camera on the left side on both cameras. Generally speaking, the switch should typically remain off while shooting indoors and on while shooting outdoors. The ND filter allows less light to come into the camera and is useful in situations where you may have too much harsh light bouncing into the camera. Now let's see how we can utilize the switch to toggle the focus and zoom features. Make sure the switch located next to the ND filter is on zoom. This allows you to utilize the camera ring to zoom when you turn it. What if you want to focus and zoom simultaneously? There is another way to zoom. There is a zoom rocker on the right-hand side of the camera located right above the hand grip, so you can easily access the zoom rocker. Just flip the switch from zoom to focus and both functions will be available to you. This concludes our recap of the JVC cameras available to you at CMAC. For more information regarding more complicated functions of your camera or specific questions concerning the use of your camera, contact a CMAC staff member and we will be happy to help you with your further inquiries.